Watch this.
The Warhawk Air Museum is filled with all kinds of history. Stuff you can see, stuff you can feel, and stuff you can hear. Well, now you can hear that history from the people who actually lived it. For years, it was a focal point of Ann Morrison Park, the fountain, which wasn't really supposed to be for splashing until now. It's the Steelheads against the Walleye for the best in the West of the East Coast Hockey League. Yeah, I know, it's a lot to figure out. But we try to dumb it down by asking a really dumb question. Which is a better aquatic mascot? We are less than a week away from Memorial Day, holiday weekend coming up, well, this weekend. It's a fun weekend, usually to kick off summer, but the purpose is to remember the people who died serving our country. At the Warhawk Air Museum in Nampa, that is their whole purpose. They collect the relics and the memorabilia, but for the last 20 years, they've also been especially interested in collecting stories. It's part of the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project, and through it, the museum is tasked with interviewing hundreds of Idaho veterans and protecting their stories. Stories as World War II, as old as World War II, and as recent as the war in Iraq. The museum has 1,500 stories already recorded, but they're on DVD. A grant is now making it possible to make digital files out of them, to digitize them, and keep these memories alive and accessible. Here's Andrew Bartline.
To know history is to know how the past and present are connected. To know this year's leaves connect back to last decade's roots. At the Warhawk Air Museum, they know all about the roots. They know how it's all connected.
I have a real admiration for all those people who've gone before us, and they've just kept us free, and it's a wonderful country thanks to them.
Barry Hill volunteers because this is personal.
Yeah, I served in the Air Force for 5.5 years.
He serves the museum today by conserving the memories collected.
I'll be interviewing Claire Kilton for our Veterans History Project in partnership with the Library of Congress.
Initially, we tried to get as many World War II veterans as we could, and we're so happy we were able to get their stories before they passed away.
But preserving these stories on DVD?
Well, these have
that's the hard part.
A fixed life. They're not going to be here forever. They will deteriorate over time.
Barry and museum director Sue Paul couldn't let that happen, and they aren't.
To digitize the films.
They received a grant from the Canyon County Historical Society.
They gave us $24,000 for the first 500, and we have almost 1,500. So this is a beginning for us. It's an incredible beginning for us.
It's the beginning for a lot of people.
I've had families come up to me so emotional because they had never heard their grandfather or grandmother tell a story, and yet they could sit on film after they were gone and watch them tell it with smiling and laughing and talking about who their experiences or crying because of an experience. So the personal part of that for families is incredible.
The Veterans History Project is in partnership with the Library of Congress, putting these stories into public record to be saved forever.
Rod with a flag on it so that we had a reference to round out on. If you tried to round out on the thing, you'd always land high, and then it drops to the ground.
This guard is going to take you out and shoot you if you don't talk to me. And he asked me another question, and about that I got to thinking, I'm a PFC, I don't know anything, why would they shoot me?
There were still parachutes in the trees, and there were broken gliders, and there were even several hundred Germans on the beaches, but they weren't shooting at us, they were loading our supplies.
These are definitely veterans who never talked about it.
Stories that individually might just look like another leaf on the tree. But here, it matters more, traced back to the root.
And we've taken them up through all kinds of conflicts, all the way up to the most current situations around the world.
Now, this project still has another 1,000 to be processed, and of those first 500 that they got that grant for with the Historical Society, there's a timeline on that. They say it has to be done by the fall, so they're still working through all of these, Brian. They should have those first 500 done by the fall. They're looking on getting more grant money to get another 1,000 that are left, and like they said, this is World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, more recent conflicts across the country that we see today, very recent vets. So there's a large scope here. People are trying to preserve history.
Those examples that you showed there, how far back did those go?
I mean, this started in like 2003, so some of these could be 20 years old even. And you could tell by the quality on the camera a little bit as well. But
it's still nice to see it.
They go back quite some time, and some of them have props where they're showing like diagrams of this specific conflict was happening. You know, my supervisor, I don't know the proper terms, was over here. Like, they're drawing out people on the front lines, infantrymen, mortars behind them, diagramming battles. It's pretty incredible.
Had it all in here, and now it's all for us to see. Awesome. Thank you very much, Andrew. All right, you've asked us about this for about as long as it's been in the works. What happened to the fountain in Ann Morrison Park? 1 week from today, a new Boise icon is going to be officially unveiled. A tribute to the past, well, kind of jumping us into the present. The fountain at the park has been transformed from a spot to, just take a picture to a spot to now cool off legally. Here's Joe Paris to not only tell you about it, but show you all about it.
The year is 1959. Johnny Horton's The Battle of New Orleans is at the top of the charts. Over in Boise, Idaho, a brand new park with a centerpiece fountain is set to be dedicated to the name Ann Morrison. The park and fountain stands the test of time, but renovations spruced up the fountain in '96. Ah yes, I'm sure you recognize this design. And this design, as many of you had noted to us, was torn down in recent years, prompting the question, what comes next?
So what you're looking at is the newest addition to Ann Morrison Park. This is our centerpiece of the park. This is the new Ann Morrison fountain.
Doug Holloway is director of Boise Parks and Recreation.
Yep, this is good.
He has all the fountain insight.
It looks a lot different. The previous one was an above-the-ground facility, no interaction, no engagement with the public. It basically was a view shed. And so you could come, stand in front of it and take pictures. That's basically all you could do.
This new setup? Yeah, there's a lot more to do here. Holloway, give us the specs.
We have 14 different little waterfalls. They're called water weirs, but we refer to them as waterfalls. They're at the base of the seating at both ends of the spray feature of the fountain. This is about 70 feet in length. There are 69 individual water jets that spew water. They're on various types of programs. We can do a manual program. We can do an automated program. It also has 69 different LED lights that are all embedded in each of the jets.
The previous fountain didn't allow for water play. Well, in a way that was legal. This here, it's a new chapter.
Prohibition here is over. It's from prohibition to encouragement. Get in there.
Exactly right. It will delight me to just see this filled with kids and families all summer long.
So what about the water itself?
All this water is treated inside the tank with chlorinated products, and then it's put back out into the fountain surface. So the water isn't going down a sewer drain. It isn't going out into the park itself. It basically is recirculated, treated, and brought back out into the fountain complex.
The state-of-the-art fountain is accompanied by a piece done by local artist Stephanie Inman, entitled Double Portal.
It also serves as the eye from Americana through the fountain, through to the Ann Morrison monument we have there, and then on to the actual clock tower as well. So it actually has a purpose beyond just being a donor portal, and it's being a really nice art piece as well.
I guess my last question for you is, what temperature is the water? But I guess there's only one way to find out.
You should try it. You should give it a shot and see if it's warm enough for you or cold enough for you. And it is kind of a nice day. I don't know what the temperature is right now, but
70 degrees almost.
So 70 degrees. So
I guess I am the reporter. That's my job.
Yeah. Do you get paid to do this kind of stuff?
Today, I guess. I don't know.
I think you should test it out and let us know.
All right, hit the button. It is my big day. Here we go. Let's see if it's cold. Here we go. Oh yeah, it's a little chilly. Oh yeah. Oh, that's good. Oh, on a hot day, it's gonna be really good. Woo! Okay. Well, it works. It works really well. Water pressure's great. Very refreshing. Please hold the applause. Wow.
For you, Doug Holloway, you're standing just off the side a few weeks from now. You look over at this area. What does success look like to you?
This filled with kids. Kids and families enjoying it and staying here all day playing in it.
So I know your question is, when can you go see it? Well, there's going to be a big event to celebrate it all next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Don't go before then because it's chained off. You can't go in. But yes, next Wednesday, 4 p.m. at the fountain. There'll be food trucks. There'll be a big celebration. Lots of fun. The city pulling out all the stops for a big celebration, and why not? And for all you people at home keeping track in your pocketbooks, the overall budget for this new fountain, it's about $1.975 million, so almost $2 million. Okay. Who paid for it? Well, the funding is a combination of city dollars and $325,000 donation from the Harry W. Morrison Foundation and a $100,000 donation from the Morrison Knutson Foundation. It was great. I enjoyed it. I know it's not about me, but I think this is going to be very popular based on my experience.
Went from an eyesore the last couple of years to now an interactive activity.
Yes, and while they were showing it off for us today, which again, thank you so much for having us out there, people were starting to come around the fence and look in.
Nice.
I know as we get the text messages in, a lot of people wanted to know what's going to happen.
Clean up nice, Joe. Thank you. We'll be right back.
I don't have a lot to work with.
Six months ago, almost to the day, the Idaho Steelheads opened their East Coast Hockey League season in the Midwest, in Iowa, and they're still playing. I guess that's what happens when you fishtail through the playoffs. You find yourself still playing a winter sport into the first unofficial weekend of summer. Well, tonight they're back in the Midwest, in Ohio. Oh, Iowa, Ohio, Idaho, the whole thing, yeah. For Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals against the Toledo Walleye, another fish mascot. The steelhead versus the walleye. So which fish is finer? We asked a local avid angler who reminded us these two fish aren't really supposed to share the same water here in the Gem State, frozen or otherwise. Steelheads have free reign, while walleye are considered invasive species outside of like 4 very controlled lakes up north.
They're not really wanted, no. They're native to the Midwest. Toledo, right on Lake Erie there, is probably like the walleye capital of the world. So they are not naturally occurring in our ecosystem.
They have teeth.
They have teeth. Yep, sharp teeth. They're a predator.
God.
Yep.
You do a lot of fishing.
Yeah, lots.
What's a better fight, walleye or steelhead?
Steelhead, hands down. So a steelhead, especially when most anglers target a steelhead, is when they're coming back from the ocean. And that tends to be a very large fish, you know, anywhere from 2 feet to 3 feet long. Very strong, powerful fish. They've made that migration all the way to the ocean, all the way back. And the fight is, you know, is pretty insane on a steelhead. The walleye, even the big ones, are not particularly known as fighters. I've heard it compared to reeling in a wet sock. So a steelhead is definitely more of a sporting fish and more of a fight.
What about eating?
Yeah, the eating. A walleye are considered one of the best freshwater eating fish in North America. Steelhead is really good eating too. You know, most people like those smoked, or it's just a big trout. So they're good eating, but I would give the edge to walleye as far as being a little bit better table fare. Delicious. Never pass up on a chance for some fried walleye.
Okay, steelhead get the edge catching them. Walleye get the edge eating them.
Yeah.
Overall, what's a better fish, steelhead or walleye?
I'm gonna go steelhead on this one, you know, maybe a little hometown bias there, but also the steelhead is just, the anadromous fish, in my opinion, are just kind of one of nature's miracles, nature's wonders.
Bottom line is, steelhead got this one, right? Up 2 games?
Up 2 games to none, you know, they've been the best team in the league all season. A formidable opponent, just like walleye in the wild with those teeth, but hopefully the steelheads can stay on top and pull this one out.
Walleye, creepy, lazy fish. Jordan, also a pretty big Steelheads hockey fan, maybe you could tell. So he's a bit biased, of course, but he says the Steelies take the series in 5 games. They're going to bring it back to home ice. Tonight's game, by the way, Game 3, happening in minutes, actually 1 minute. Puck drops at 5:15.
All right, let's talk about our weather headlines. Of course, we are heading into the unofficial kickoff to summer with the Memorial Day weekend. And unfortunately, the thunderstorm threat we've been talking about for the last several days continues into the weekend, with valley rain chances increasing on Friday by just a little bit. My silver lining here, though, is that temperatures do remain warm, and the Boise area in particular carries the least amount of threatening rain and storms in the forecast. But if you're headed to the east or the north of the Treasure Valley, storm chances do increase. So speaking of nice warm temperatures, we're at 78 in Boise right now. Skies are starting to cloud up just a little bit across the Boise area. It's been stormy in Twin Falls, but still 63 degrees there, mid-60s right now in McCall. It's been a little rainy in Sun Valley as well. Look at the storms happening right now coming in from south to north. It's been hitting the Magic Valley and eastern Owyhee County pretty hard for the last couple of hours. We do have flood concerns, including flash flood warnings in effect for portions of the Magic Valley for the next couple of hours. So if you are headed up in elevation for the weekend, just be prepared for some wet weather, occasional stormy weather. Same story here in the Treasure Valley, but outside of those storms, we have some gorgeous weather coming our way. Plenty of sunshine overhead through the weekend and highs around 80 degrees.
Good day to be outside. And if you were anywhere near South Junior High today, you might have heard something that sounded a bit like a cannon. Well, it was a potato cannon. Students in South Junior High's pre-engineering and tech class created and then organized a potato cannon shoot-off, kind of part of their end-of-the-year carnival. It was a project that almost didn't happen, though, until the community came together to donate the missing parts. Photojournalist Jason Foster was there to capture it on video and then compress it into this spectacular story. Sorry.
Is there a potato in there?
Today we are having so much fun. A few things. We're, of course, celebrating the end of the school year, but also celebrating our students and our pre-engineering and tech class. And grateful for the community for coming together and making this possible.
Oh! I thought it'd be fun for the kids, I guess. I went to South Junior High.
We had so many community members come together to make it possible.
So the PTO reached out to me with an email and said, hey, we want to make some potato guns for the end of school.
Why is it getting With COVID, there are still supply chain issues, and what we thought would be a fun, cool physics, science, pre-engineering, tech project wasn't that easy.
I messed up.
We couldn't find the parts we needed to provide the safety we needed, so we went to many businesses, and it was heartwarming how gracious all the businesses were, and especially Nick with Evergreen Sprinkler.
I was like, I made one when I was younger. I'll bring it in and kind of show you guys how I made mine and whatnot.
He owns a sprinkler business, but on top of that, he has built a potato cannon. And serendipitously, we did not know that when we contacted him desperate for parts.
The fittings they needed were kind of obscure, 3-inch fittings are not super common. So, that was a good one.
The kids have just loved it. It's been fun. Who doesn't want to shoot a potato cannon?
Okay, so we mentioned the potatoes were donated by Simplot, so kind of everybody kind of put into this, which is great. The sound of a vegetable cannon of any kind kind of brings back a lot of memories for a lot of us longtime KTVBers. Nearly 21 years ago, John Miller was doing a, less scientific, more fun story on a certain pumpkin cannon right before Halloween.
Wayne Ritchie is what you might call
mechanically inclined,
if not slightly disturbed,
a little psychotic sometimes,
but technically gifted.
I can build anything.
So he built this.
That's a handheld pumpkin launcher.
Not quite one of the big guns, but at least you get to be like the Eddie Van Halen of pumpkin cannons, huh? Rock on. In any other state, this would be like a major misdemeanor. In Idaho, this is not only like appreciated, but encouraged.
It's a sporting event.
Yeah. And creativity-wise, Wayne's cannon is one of a kind. The marriage of muffler pipe,
propane tank,
bicycle brake parts.
Yeah, things you find in everybody's garage.
And everybody's refrigerator. Camo box.
We got some gourds. We got some pumpkin, grapefruit.
What you're saying is this thing's like the ultimate salad shooter.
Yeah, it could be. Here, you take that.
Sweet.
It's softball caliber.
Sweet, so I could be breaking like a major league record here.
Oh, yeah.
Or my skull.
You're good.
But not good enough.
4, 5, 6. Oh, man.
Luckily, Wayne will give anyone a shot. And as far as good, clean potato flinging fun goes, it's bad.
Bad as it gets.
Yeah. John Miller, Idaho's News Channel 7.
Man, remember salad shooters? Okay, so did you pay attention to that line in the story about John breaking his skull? Well, that was written for a reason, because when we asked him about it, John fondly remembered it.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was my last big bang, literally. I mean, so we went out to shoot, this guy was pumpkin chunking, they call it out there, right? So the guy was shooting that, but he had one that looked like, it was like a handheld cannon. And he's like, yeah, I can put softballs in this. So my videographer and I, Shanti, to those who know him, he's like, well, let's go by your house and get a mitt. So I'm like, okay. So I went out to get a mitt, went back there, and he shot the thing in the air, and it went so high that I couldn't even see it. And then he shot another one, and then the camera guy couldn't even see it. And I'm like, well, what's the worst? Like, it's not like I'm going to drop it, you know? So he shoots the next one up, and it comes down, and it's not spinning. And we're out there in this cornfield, I think, farm field of some sort. And I take a step back, and that thing hit me right here. And it's the only story that's required major reconstructive head surgery. Definitely not getting in front of a pumpkin cannon ever again anytime soon. So,
and he hasn't. John Miller, now a resident of Kansas City, Missouri. There, and they say scars should come with a cool story. John Miller certainly has one with that one. Last November, Oregon voters amended their constitution to make it so that if any lawmakers miss 10 or more, or have 10 or more unexcused absences in the legislature, well, they can't get reelected the next time. 6 senators have done that from the state of Oregon, including the representatives, or the senators, I should say, from Eastern Oregon. Tomorrow, we're going to talk to one of them about how this is working in the Oregon legislature and what this means. How much havoc is it wreaking? We'll see you here tomorrow.